Yesterday, we discussed a brewing MAGA civil war for the soul of Donald Trump, primarily between Marjorie Taylor Greene and an influential MAGA cultist, potentially more extreme than Greene herself, by the name of Laura Loomer. And Republican officials have been coming out of the woodwork begging Trump to distance himself from Loomer. But now Trump has finally spoken up in public, and he has made it abundantly clear that he is sticking by Laura Loomer, defying the Republican Party, and increasing this scandal maximally. And we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is a follow-up to a video that we did yesterday about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer. And now this has the potential to become an explosive campaign derailing scandal, thanks in large part to Donald Trump's recklessness and stupidity. So he was finally asked to weigh in on this and the scandal of Laura Loomer. And for context, as a reminder, Laura Loomer has a long history of controversial, racist, bigoted, incendiary, dangerous remarks. My God, she also suggested she suggested executing Democrats during an episode of Tim Pool's podcast, right? I mean, so she is all over the place, maximally unhinged. Marjorie Taylor Greene is like, this girl's crazy. And again, this is something that we talked about yesterday, but Donald Trump finally entered the fray and has given public remarks on this. And this is bad news for Marjorie Taylor Greene and for most of the GOP.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What would you say to your Republican colleagues or your allies who are concerned about your close relationship with Laura Loomer?
Well, I don't know what they would say. Laura's been a supporter of mine, just like a lot of people are supporters, and she's been a supporter of mine. She speaks very positively of the campaign. I'm not sure why you asked that question, but Laura is a supporter. I don't control Laura. Laura has to say what she wants. She's a free spirit. Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I can't tell Laura what to do. Laura's a supporter. I have a lot of supporters. But I don't know what exactly you're referring to.
So he's visibly agitated, even waves the question away. But unfortunately for him, there are follow-ups to this because, again, this is now making national news. News outlets are talking about this. And per usual, Donald Trump makes things worse for himself. So this is from the same event in California. Another reporter brings up Laura Loomer.
Yeah, please. I just don't know. Laura's a supporter. I don't know. She is a strong person. She's got strong opinions, and I don't know what she said, but that's not up to me. She's a supporter. Please.
Traveling with you on your plane.
Okay, a lot of people do. It's a very big plane.
With you. She made racist remarks about your opponent. She also espoused conspiracy theories about 9/11. Do you disavow those remarks?
Well, I have to see what the remarks are. You're telling me for the first time we're here discussing the destruction of San Francisco and California by a person that's running for president. So I don't even know what you're talking about. I do know that she may have said something based on what you're telling me, but I don't know what she said. But I'll go take a look and I'll put out a statement later on. But I really don't know. Please.
Makes me wonder if he will actually put out a statement. It's entirely possible that's not the case because Donald Trump doesn't particularly care about controversy. The currency that he values most is personal loyalty to him. So, I mean, obviously, he'll throw any supporter under the bus if it's his ass versus theirs. But that's the last line of defense. He loves the cultists. He wants you as maximally cultish as possible. And Laura Loomer is devoted in ways that, again, perhaps even Marjorie Taylor Greene is not. Donald Trump continued to be peppered by questions, rightfully so, about Laura Loomer at this event.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
What value do you feel that Laura Loomer brings to you? And has nobody told you about the conspiracy theories that she is promoting?
No, I don't know that much about it. No, I don't. I know she's a big fan of the campaign, but I really don't know. I would say that, she brings a spirit to us that a lot of people have. We have very spirited people. And in all fairness to her, she hates seeing what's happened to the country, I guess. I mean, she hates seeing what's happened to the country. So do I. It's very sad.
So there you go, folks. I mean, Donald Trump doubled down on his support for someone as controversial and repugnant as Laura Loomer, such that she's even driving away devoted MAGA cultists like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Could any sane person in Trump world question Marjorie Taylor Greene's loyalty? And yet here she is, as a reminder, publicly complaining about Laura Loomer and suggesting that a close association with Laura Loomer by Donald Trump and MAGA would actually be disastrous for the Republican Party, for the MAGA movement, and for Donald Trump's reelection efforts. Again, just as a reminder of what Marjorie Taylor Greene has said on the topic.
About her rhetoric and her hateful tone. To me, many of the comments that she makes and how she attacks Republicans like me, many other Republicans that are strong supporters of President Trump, I think they're a huge problem. And that doesn't represent MAGA as a whole.
She's still traveled with the former president. Would you encourage Trump not to keep close contact with her?
You know, Laura Loomer has lost 2 Republican congressional campaigns, one in a general and one in a primary. And this is such an important election. I don't think that she has the experience or the right mentality to advise a very important presidential election. But I do know this, that her rhetoric and her tone does not match the base, does not match MAGA, does not match most Republicans I know.
And yet the leader of MAGA, your cult leader, Donald Trump, not only has been closely associating with her, but even when this is brought to his attention, he just doubles down on his support for Laura Loomer because he views Laura Loomer as someone, unconditionally devoted to him, which again is the only currency that Donald Trump trades in outside of the US dollar, right? That's the only thing that matters to him. As a matter of fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene doing what she's done may very well be undercutting her stock with Donald Trump, right? Because you could easily interpret this as a criticism of Donald Trump, given that he is clearly associating with her despite her public protestations. So it could be seen as like, hey, you're criticizing me. You're suggesting I'm doing something wrong. You're publicly critiquing my behavior. This may elevate Laura Loomer. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, as I said in the video yesterday, not to defend her because she is also profoundly hypocritical. Her rhetoric, she's complaining about Laura Loomer's rhetoric, rightly so, except Marjorie Taylor Greene has also indulged in similar aggressive, hateful, bigoted rhetoric and also cast dangerous aspersions about the Democratic Party writ large. So it's like the pot calling the kettle black. As a reminder, again, Laura Loomer made all just really despicable public attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris that were racist in nature about the vice president's Indian heritage. Again, we talked about it in yesterday's video, and it gets so bad to think about it in 2024, given all the terrible comments made about the vice president, even by Trump himself. The fact that this is generating such attention is quite staggering and long overdue. It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. Believe it or not, this entire situation is making strange bedfellows out of people. Lindsey Graham, top Trump ally, also commented on this. He told the Huffington Post, Trump shouldn't be palling around with 9/11 Truth or Laura Loomer. Quote, Marjorie Taylor Greene is right. I don't say that a lot. We have policy disagreements, but the history of this person is just really toxic. I don't think it's helpful at all. I think what she said about Kamala Harris and the White House is abhorrent, but it's deeper than that. I mean, some of the things she said about Republicans and others is disturbing because, of course, Lindsey Graham cares a lot less about you making racist attacks on against Democrats than making attacks against Republicans. He says, quote, I think that the former president should serve himself well to make sure this doesn't become a bigger story. And now he is doomed himself in that respect. Trump has now officially made it a much bigger story. Graham also noted Loomer, quote, actually called for Kellyanne Conway's daughter to hang herself, which I didn't know about, but MAGA world is so crazy that it's easy for this stuff to slip under the radar. So yeah, Laura Loomer is so unhinged that she called for the daughter of top Trump advisor and supporter Kellyanne Conway to hang herself. So that's Lindsey Graham. It's not just Lindsey Graham. Tom Tillis, Republican senator from North Carolina, my state, he said on Twitter, Laura Loomer is a crazy conspiracy theorist who regularly utters disgusting garbage intended to divide Republicans. A DNC plant couldn't do a better job than she is doing to hurt Trump's chances of winning re-election. Enough. To which Laura Loomer responded, Tom Tillis is a rhino who attacked Trump after January 6th and called for all of the January 6th political prisoners to remain in jail. Tom Tillis is the DNC plant he accuses me of being. Let's examine the facts, shall we? Last year, Tom Tillis was censured by the North Carolina GOP because they accused him of working against Donald Trump and didn't like Tillis's weak stance on immigration. Tillis challenged Trump's immigration policies and supported a measure that provided funds for red flag laws. The North Carolina senator opposed Trump's plans to use military construction dollars to build a wall along our nation's southern border and only agreed to show up to the RNC this year to pretend like he was unified after Trump was shot in the ear. These people are enemies to our country and enemies of MAGA. Tillis should be working to close our borders, but he's too busy attacking me on X. Notice all the people who are attacking me are for open borders, and they all have a record of attacking Donald Trump. There's a pattern here. Tillis is the one who should be condemned for his record of working against Donald Trump. I've always supported Donald Trump. Tillis can't say the same. And then she says the receipts, headlines of Tillis criticizing Trump over comments, calling January 6 rioters patriots. Manu Raju, CNN, screenshot of this. Asked Tom Tillis about Trump defending January 6 prisoners. And he said, folks, it was the last I was the last Senate member out of the chamber on January 6. I saw Capitol police officers bleeding, bruised, and I saw damage to a certain extent as we were exiting. To call these people patriots is not in my lexicon. North Carolina GOP censures Senator Tillis for backing LGBTQ rights and other policies. This was in June of 2023. So the MAGA civil war continues. And if anything, Donald Trump's reluctance to part with a cultist like Laura Loomer, even though it would be in his political best interest, just goes to show a couple of things. Number one, he's reckless. Number two, he's desperate. Number three, the only thing that matters to him is how publicly cultish you are to him. And number four, it's never enough. It is never enough. Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's not enough. Tom Tillis, not enough. Lindsey Graham, not enough. Not enough. Not enough. This could and should derail Donald Trump's election campaign. And by the way, I think you and I and everybody else have a moral obligation to signal boost this as much as possible. There you have it, folks. Donald Trump just took a bad situation and made it worse, publicly defied and spat in the face of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lindsey Graham, and other prominent Republican officials, and has potentially jeopardized his campaign, and all for the sake of this one unhinged MAGA cultist. Sounds like this guy doesn't have the judgment to be president, but what do I know? In the meantime, you let me know what you think in the comments.